Olympic gold medalist, the champ, knocked out Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, he's a fucking monster. I mean, no one has ever had a better body than Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua was one of the best built heavyweight boxers of all time. Anthony Joshua got knocked out. And I was like, no! And I go, what happened? If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer. And you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever. Knock him out with one punch like that. Like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's fucking for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real boxer.
Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is now officially set, and the entire combat sports world is in disbelief. No one saw this matchup coming. No analyst predicted it, no fan imagined it, and now the shockwaves are spreading everywhere. From boxing experts to former champions to UFC fighters, Jake Paul was originally expected to face Gervonta "Tank" Davis, a man nearly half his size, but that fight collapsed under controversy. Instead of waiting or rebuilding momentum, Jake Paul has somehow secured a fully sanctioned heavyweight showdown against Anthony Joshua, a former unified heavyweight world champion.
Jake Paul, if this is not going to be, curated into a little dance around exhibition, could find himself in the way of getting seriously hurt here, like Francis Ngannou did. Francis Ngannou was an MMA fighter that got blasted out by Anthony Joshua. A fitter, more focused Anthony Joshua than the version that we've got now, possibly. But this, to me, is everything that's wrong with boxing. It's a money play, nothing wrong. I don't begrudge Anthony Joshua getting 50 million quid for an easy night's work. That's fantastic returns. Most people would take it. From the boxing world, Jake Paul is now a professional fighter. Whether we categorize him as a YouTuber or not, he's licensed to fight, which means that the governing body should be suggesting that this is not a fight that possibly they should be looking to sanction.
Yeah.
But they will, because the sanctioning fees will be enormous. Anthony Joshua will not lose his legacy like some people are suggesting, because no one will remember it in 2 or 3 years' time. If he embarrasses himself in there, they'll remember it. If he goes in and knocks him out in 30 seconds flat, or turns it into a little bit more of a sort of Jake LaMotta, Raging Paul, holding him up for a few rounds and then knocking him out, then people will forgive it. He'll get a big bag of money, which most people in the world would take, and move on.
Did I see the fight being worked on December 19th in Miami?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know which fight I'm talking about?
No.
Fair enough.
Oh, Jesus. That's a fucking bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what. A lot of people watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. Yeah, I think everybody's going to get what they've finally been waiting for.
Man, bro, Jake Paul been training pretty freaking hard and consistent. And I don't think they're just taking a fight to take a fight,
The damage that's going to be inflicted to him. Boxing's a dangerous, dangerous game. Your brain isn't supposed to rattle around in your head, particularly the way it's going to for Jake Paul when Anthony Joshua starts letting those punches fly. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be, I hope they've got some real good paramedics close by, because it could be that bad.
A global superstar, a man who has knocked out giants and faced the very best on the planet, and the craziest part? Jake Paul actually seems confident. The internet is completely divided, with half the people calling him delusional and the other half calling him fearless. Boxing analysts are stunned, insisting that Joshua has nothing to gain and everything to lose. Meanwhile, others argue that Jake Paul deserves credit for stepping into the ring with a man whose right hand could practically knock out a horse. This isn't an exhibition. This isn't 12-ounce gloves and friendly rules. This is a real fight, a real heavyweight battle.
In my opinion, who gives a damn when you can bank $92 million for having a little move around in a boxing ring? Fair play. You can't on that. However, let's talk about it. The reason I say that it's a lose-lose. We'll start with Jake Paul first. The reason I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beaten a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul, because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong, all his critics, like me. By the way, I'm not like out there on an island by myself. Everyone says the same thing, and he would potentially prove all of those critics wrong. Well, yeah, he would, maybe, unless there's some funny business, right? And for Anthony Joshua, as I said, this is kind of a lose-lose, right? Because if he wins, people are still going to say, well, you only beat Jake Paul, right? The man that lost to Tommy Fury, after all, right? That's the only loss in his record, Tommy Fury. You're telling me that Tommy Fury is going to beat him and then Anthony Joshua's not going to beat him? So if he beats him, he gets no credit. And if he loses, then holy can you imagine? That would be the biggest downfall of any boxer's career. The reality is, he's not going to lose. There is no way on this earth that Jake Paul can beat Anthony Joshua in a boxing match.
Chin's gone. But he's still Anthony Joshua, which is stiff and no rhythm, no skill, just power.
You're serious about fighting him?
Yeah.
Well, my thoughts on it is that Jake Paul's had a lot of accusations over the years for a guy who's had no amateur fights. What's he had, about 10 or 12
fights? Yeah.
Fights, I'm not sure what he's had. And, you know, you look at the opposition he's had and people saying, when's he going to fight somebody? He stepped up. He's stepping up to a two-time world champion, a genuine heavyweight, a proper heavyweight champion, and an active fighter. And this is a big moment for him, and you got to take your hat off to him for that. This fight, as regarding AJ, I'm sure AJ's wants a fight back after that, that unbelievable loss he had against Daniel Dubois. That's quite an emphatic loss. He wants to come back, get himself. Dip his toe in the water. He's going to get paid a lot of money for this. This fight's going to generate a lot of money because for me, it's a fighter. Jake Paul's going to be a massive underdog against a big favourite, a big odds-on favourite. Can he do it or not? This is a car crash and people will watch it because that's what people do at car crashes. That's what this is.
If you don't win this fight in 30 seconds, there's going to be two things thrown at him. One, good. A lot of people are going to say, you can't afford Jake Paul in your arm. You're terrible. You're never any good. So they'll forget he was two-time heavyweight champion of the world. He was the fellow that struggled with Jake Paul. And God forbid he gets beat. Imagine if he got beat, or he gets dropped, or the rest of his career count pretty much for nothing in most people's eyes. And the second thing is, if he does take him rounds, if he does hold him up, if he does play the game and get a few rounds in, and it's a bit of an exhibition style thing, he'll never be taken serious by most paying public ever again. So I just think it's a no-win situation for Anthony Joshua, apart from the 50 million quid, of course, which is not too bad.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, bro. This is crazy.
Who you got in this fight?
I gotta go Jake.
Oh, God.
Who the fuck is he fighting? Jake's good. I'm not betting on this fight.
Why?
Joshua's good.
That's your man.
A bark, a bite, a overhand right. Stop it! Welcome to K9 Boxing. And Jake Paul is about to take on Anthony Joshua December the 19th. And I can't believe it, because Jake Paul went from about to fight Tank Davis to fighting Anthony Joshua, a former heavyweight world champion. Now, to be honest with you, I think Jake Paul done bit off more than he can chew. Anthony Joshua is a former heavyweight world champ. Let me rewind that. Anthony Joshua is a former heavyweight world champ. Jake Paul doesn't have that much experience. I don't think he had any amateur fights, and he's a YouTuber. But don't get me wrong, he has gotten better. I respect that. If the fight isn't scripted, then Jake Paul goes to sleep. Tell me what you think. Would Jake Paul pull off the upset, or would Anthony Joshua put Jake Paul to sleep? Tell me what y'all think. Leave a comment at K9 Boxing. Stop!
And the moment that reality sinks in, you understand just how massive the risk truly is for both men. If Anthony Joshua dominates, the world simply nods. But if Joshua looks even slightly off, if he gets clipped, wobbled, or dropped for even a second, his career suffers a powerful, lasting blow, and that's exactly what makes this matchup so fascinating. Jake Paul is no longer the 2020 YouTuber turned boxer. He hits hard. He has a sharp right hand, and every punch he throws carries bad intentions. If Joshua sleepwalks, if his jab is slow, if he misreads the timing on Jake Paul's overhand right, then yes, there exists a slim but very real window where Jake Paul could shock the world.
That's just a fact, okay? Look at what he did to Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou hits as hard as a Ford Escort, going 100 miles an hour or whatever that stat was. Comes from the UFC. He was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Has a good go against Tyson Fury, but goes up against Anthony Joshua and gets flatlined. Every single punch that was thrown was landed, and every punch that landed put Francis Ngannou down, okay? So to stand there and think that Jake Paul, who's much, much smaller, who has way less experience, that doesn't weigh anything near him, is going to have a chance, and not to mention the technical abilities. Let's just talk about that. Not to mention the technical abilities or experience. We're talking about an Olympic gold medalist, remember, from back in the day, who's then gone on to become a true British boxing icon.
And so I like the challenge. People, that's the criticism. Fight someone in their prime who's a beast. I think people just want to see me lose. That's really what the message is behind it all. And Anthony Joshua is an insane fight, but I want that challenge. We've been DMing back and forth. He wants to make it happen. He called me up, and it's looking very likely for next year.
The Joshua thing is crazy. Is that a real conversation? Jake's a fucking lunatic, and it's probably real. I saw Joshua knock out Francis Ngannou, and the guy was like out cold for 5 minutes. And this is a guy who had never been knocked down, let alone knocked out. If he steps in the ring with him, and actually a bell rings and there are punches thrown, every bit of Jake Paul is not a real boxer conversation is gone forever.
There's been some talk about possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. And I like his new heavyweight look. A bit chubby, bit bulky.
And that's exactly why this fight has detonated across the entire internet. But let's be honest for a moment, Anthony Joshua is 6 feet 6 inches, built like a tank, with elite pedigree. He's an Olympic gold medalist with world-class footwork, championship experience, and a resume stacked with monsters. He's shared the ring with killers like Vladimir Klitschko, Alexander Usyk, Andy Ruiz, Joseph Parker, and Dillian White.
Boxing icon, let's be honest, right? There's no way that he loses to Jake Paul, unless it's an exhibition match. Now, Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua's promoter, came out and said, we are not interested in an exhibition match. We only want a professional rules fight.
And how would it work? Would it be an exhibition?
No exhibition. So we're not interested in exhibition. It's a real fight. It's a cruiserweight moving up to heavyweight. We were going to have an 8-round fight this year on an undercard somewhere, very obscure. We didn't expect that to be against Jake Paul, but it just so happens that if it is, it's for 50 times more money.
Well, that's just crazy straight away. Eddie Hearn is chatting some there, because this shouldn't be a sanctioned bout. Sanctioning Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua is almost as bad as sanctioning Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul. And remember, the commissions weren't going to do that, and then eventually they had to pull the plug. I did a video on this. Apparently, some allegedly, I don't know the whole story, some domestic abuse stuff. I don't know the details. I don't want to get into it. It's disgusting, whatever it is, but the fight's not going ahead. But apparently the commissions were very, very hesitant to license it anyway, right? Because of the weight discrepancy, because that's what Jake Paul always does. But I will say that Anthony Joshua, that walks around 265, 270 pounds, he's going to have 50 pounds, give or take, on Jake Paul.
Man, I'm here for the vibes. I'm here for the fight. Usyk's one of my favorite fighters, him or David Benavidez. So here to enjoy and just have some fun tonight here in Wembley.
Come on, put some meat on the bones of you and Anthony Joshua. Is it happening or not?
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I want it to happen here. All the odds stacked against me. I believe that I will beat him and shock the world and create one of the biggest upsets in boxing history.
Tyson Fury was saying he put $1 million on you beating Anthony Joshua.
I seen that. He's backing me. He's a smart lad.
But how do you love the atmosphere here? Wembley's brilliant. We'd love to see you fight here, by the way.
Man, I love it. Like the UK fans really love boxing even more than American fans. So I'm going around the pubs, talking to all the people, asking them about how they think about the fight. I just love the atmosphere. I love to be here, and this is always history when you're at Wembley.
Jake Paul has reached out to Anthony Joshua a few times. I've spoken to Nikisa, Jake's manager. It's never a fight we anticipated. It's never a fight we've targeted. But if you want Jake Paul to be the warm-up fight, and obviously financially it's a great opportunity for AJ, and you want to provide AJ and probably in turn Matchroom with the opportunity to extinguish Jake Paul from the world of boxing, then maybe AJ will oblige.
Right, let's get more on this right now and speak to Johnny Nelson. He's already smiling at those quotes. Of course, former world cruiserweight champion and Sky Sports' very own. Johnny, I spoke to you just a few days ago, didn't I, when we'd heard about this, but it wasn't official. It's now official. How huge is it that Jake Paul can land a fight with a very recent heavyweight world champion?
Well, by the sounds of it, there's 50 million reasons why Anthony Joshua's taking this fight. In my head, I never, ever thought this fight would happen. Why? Because of Anthony Joshua's desire to be in the history books, to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. To me, it shows me his desire. Pick up 50 million along the way. Nobody can knock him for this. This is now business. This is business. For Jake Paul, absolutely crazy. Jake Paul is a domestic level professional fighter here in the UK. Would he win a British title? No, I don't think so. So now they're putting this domestic level fight in with a former heavyweight 2-time champion of the world. The weight is 245. So I think last time Anthony Joshua weighed around that was when he boxed Usyk.
Jake Paul has never faced anything remotely close to that level of danger. The speed gap, the power gap, the inside fighting, the ability to control distance, the brutal uppercut, it's all on a completely different level. If Anthony Joshua shows up focused, locks in, and walks Jake Paul down behind that tight, disciplined guard, just like he did against Otto Wallin, then Jake Paul is going to feel a level of sheer physicality he has never experienced in his life.
Jake Paul lost to Tommy Fury. Anthony Joshua cannot box Jake Paul. Horrific. He's dangerous for one, and two, if Jake Paul even lands a glove on him, it just diminishes everything that he's achieved. Jake Paul won't last 2 minutes for me. Never mind Anthony Joshua. It's ridiculous. It's a joke.
If AJ does say yes to going in against Jake Paul, does he harm his legacy?
I would lose a bit of respect for him. I think a lot of boxing people would as well, to be honest. Why would he box him? 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, one of the best heavyweights the last 20 years, held British boxing on his back. People might say he deserves to box Jake Paul. But why though? Why would he do it?
Did you lose respect from when he fought Ngannou? Did you lose respect from Fury when he fought Ngannou?
Ngannou's a serious fighting man. World champion of the mixed martial arts.
It's a worrying thing, potentially, the damage that AJ could do to Jake Paul.
He'll hurt him. Yeah, Jake Paul is a cruiserweight. You wouldn't put the Midlands area cruiserweight champion with Anthony Joshua, so why would you put Jake Paul in there? Just because he's a superstar, whatever. I don't know what he does. What does he do? What is he?
A YouTuber.
It's just not worth it. He's got enough money as it is. Why risk all that for a few more quid? I don't like it. I hope it don't happen. I don't think Anthony Joshua will do it.
I don't know if you've seen this fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. As a Brit, how do you evaluate?
I've just seen that. Someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if AJ doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight must be fixed or something, because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it, you know?
It's going to be next month they're working towards.
Oh yeah, sick. I'm going AJ for the win.
But this is boxing, and in boxing, the most dangerous weapon is belief. Jake Paul genuinely believes he can knock out Anthony Joshua. He truly thinks his power, his awkward timing, and that sneaky right hand can break through heavyweight armor. And while 99% of experts expect a demolition, there's that 1% who argue that the pressure on Joshua, combined with the unpredictability of Jake Paul's style, could create chaos, and chaos is all Jake Paul needs.
I haven't gone away and looked up Jake Paul. If he's fighting Anthony Joshua, he's probably going to come in at about 220 pounds. Maybe he bulks up, maybe gets on a real good strength and conditioning routine and takes in loads of protein and gets the best nutritionist on planet Earth and goes up to 225. right? Maybe he does. Maybe he becomes a proper fat bastard and just gets on the beers and the pies, right? And comes in at 230. Regardless, it's not going to be an athletic 230, and it's still going to be roughly, give or take, a 40-pound weight difference, 30 pounds, 35 pounds, whatever it is. It's a big weight disadvantage. Now, my guess is that this will probably end up being an exhibition match.
Did you see Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is happening? Who you got and how?
Man, you got to go with Anthony Joshua. You just got to go with Anthony Joshua on it. I think Anthony Joshua by knockout. Yeah, I think Jake will probably get knocked out in the third round.
Anthony Joshua, like Jake Paul will not win this fight. Connor said, like, what if, Jake Paul pulls up? This will not happen. I can guarantee you Jake Paul will not beat Anthony Joshua in boxing. But you do have to respect as I've always said about Jake Paul, I want to see him in a spectacle. I want to see him putting on big fights and interesting fights. I don't really care about his journey as this like top level boxer. So the idea that he's already like escalating this, right? Let's not forget, it wasn't too long ago that he was trying to fight Canelo Alvarez, the guy that Terrence Crawford just beat and made his legacy off of, right? Terrence was a guy who's a fantastic boxer. I've always thought number one pound for pound, but somebody who never really took hold in the boxing world and never became like a mainstream household name. He just made his name on the back of Canelo.
One moment. One mistake. One punch. This is the very definition of a spectacle, a crossover that makes absolutely no sense, yet somehow makes perfect sense at the same time. Anthony Joshua fighting Jake Paul in a fully sanctioned heavyweight bout is the kind of event that will either rebuild Jake Paul's entire boxing legacy, or destroy it forever. And no matter which side of the argument you're on, everyone is watching, because this fight guarantees pure fireworks. The world is already buzzing, the hype is already out of control, and the closer we get to fight night, the louder that noise is going to become.